What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 542 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week. We're going to break down everything that we feel like talking about that happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days, outside of the stuff that we had already talked about from previous things like our main events and a little dark cast that we had done before, and anything else that, we had covered in the past. That's the whole point. We're doing the current events and not things from 20 years ago or anything. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, are Robert DeFelice.
Heyo.
And Callum Wiggins.
Hey.
We are rolling along here with some topics like Kushida and Forbidden Door and NXT Breakin and whatnot. So as we go through and we talk about all these things, we want you to join in on the discussion and drop a comment below on YouTube in particular. While you're over there, of course, do the things that you should normally be doing on any kind of YouTube channel that you are supportive of. If you aren't subscribed to them, make sure that you subscribe. Hit the like button. That always helps out every YouTube channel out there. Share it if you want to pass it along to somebody who you think might be interested in checking it out. There's that little thanks button for the monetary stuff, a little donation, kind of like a tip jar. And if you hit the join button, it gets you access to the same members-only content that you would on Patreon, except for this time you get the video version of that. So if you checked out that dark cast, for instance, you would be able to see more of the actual spreadsheet of everything that we had going on instead of just the audio. But hey, if you want to join on the Patreon, it's just the same kind of deal. Then you got the dark cast, you got the pick a poison tier. Those kind of things help out quite a bit. Even $1 a month goes a long way and helps us let you kind of pass that information along that you are a super fan, I guess, of this podcast and everything. And helps keep the lights on a little bit. So if you want to support Smark Out Moment, it's a great way to do that. You can also pick up merchandise on TeePublic and Redbubble, or you can check out our sponsor that we'll talk about a little bit later on. So I got that out of the way. Let's start getting into some of this stuff. Let's get into somebody leaving WWE for this time being. Kushida is no longer on the roster. His contract expired and he left. And I don't blame him. Kushida was in a position where he had been brought in as a big deal, and he never really got out of the cruiserweight division. Jacket Time was not going to be a big tag team in the grand scheme of things. It was a goofy team that didn't even win the NXT tag titles. So I see why Kushida decided to go to NXT back when it was NXT. And I understand why he left, because it's not the best spot for him right now. It's NXT 2.0, and he's not somebody who is, 20 years old and hasn't been wrestling elsewhere to know any better or anything. He's been a veteran of this, and he knows that he can be a bigger deal and a bigger fish in smaller ponds and everything. Oddly enough, it's weird to think of NXT 2.0 as a big pond, but he's got AEW, he's got New Japan, he's got plenty of options out there. He's gonna be more than fine. What do you guys think about Kushida leaving? Anywhere you want to go him to particularly go?
I'm just glad he's leaving. I mean, it's they have wasted so much talent that it really went to it became NXT so much fun. And then it became, everybody's gone from NXT, and I don't blame them. And Kushida was one of the last signings from the Black and Gold era, and I feel like his first big thing was Dream, right? He had that mini feud with Velveteen, who was already on thin ice. And he never got to do anything after that, because they literally went, hey, pal, we're going to give you this. Oh, hey, this belt that we just gave you, we don't even want to use it anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Have some, do Jacket Time. And it's it sucked. But I think Kushida will be better off. And we can just say, what if, for the rest of his WWE career.
Yeah, Kushida is one of the greatest junior heavyweight Japanese wrestlers of the past 20 years or so. And you can see that by checking out a lot of his matches that he had in New Japan prior to coming to WWE, he's as technically brilliant as it comes. But we never really got to see that to the same degree in WWE, because even when he did have matches, none of them went particularly long anyway. And it was not like he was given a huge amount of prominence. He was given the Cruiserweight Championship, and that was at the time that we all heard those talks going around that, okay, we're going to actually start to put more emphasis back on the Cruiserweight division. And then Triple H lost all power, NXT 2.0 falls into the hands of Vince McMahon, and they decide that they don't actually want to have cruiserweights at all anymore. So his role, as you guys said, is rendered pointless. He moves on to the jacket time thing, which was just an absolute joke for a guy of his capabilities. But because presumably he's not a strong English speaker, he didn't exactly cut many promos. It was never really going to work out in that landscape. He did some cool things, had some good matches, still had that short run as Cruiserweight champion, got to team with Alex Shelley for a little bit, which was fun. But
yeah, I think like for me that was the coolest thing he's done, because he got Alex Shelley in WWE. So I thought that was super cool. And I think I'm still going to classify it as a success for what they gave him, but they didn't give him much of anything good.
I think this also should also add to the ever-growing collection of evidence to suggest that Japanese male talent should not be going to WWE. Because
really,
you're just not going to be treated. You're just not going to be treated well, and that's pretty much to anybody who can't speak English as their first language. There's always going to be that barrier to get through, and there's always that perception that because you can't cut a promo in English, we can only do so much with you.
Nakamura will really always be the anomaly in that way. Like, you can't take it away from him. He won the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Like, his name's always going to be in the history books in that way. But yeah, you're right. Like, we went from seeing, oh man, maybe, you know, a guy like Okada could at least have some fun matches if he were to entertain the idea, to like, man, I stay far away and never look back.
And WWE, of course, doesn't have the mindset of going, we did that with this one and that one and that one and that one and that one. We're probably not going to be able to do that with anybody going forward. They're going to still probably just be like, that's the land of opportunity, whatever. Bring them, you know, this one's going to be different. And then, you know, I mean, we're hearing rumblings that, at least one, the Meltzer side of things, that Saray is pretty much done. And it's another just like, if you are somebody from New Japan, what's the likelihood that you're going to look at this history and this track record from WWE and go, no, I'm going to be the one that succeeds? It's still a possibility, of course. There's always a chance. But Nakamura was the best example, and what they did was they gave him the Royal Rumble win, had him lose at Mania, and then did fuck all with him for years after that. That's not a great thing to be shooting for, you know?
I think Nakamura was supposed to be the launching pad of see, it's the land of opportunity. And I think, you know, his NXT run was great. Even the stuff, you know, all up until that moment at Mania where he started just repeatedly hitting AJ Styles the balls. You know, I think his stuff was great. But they dropped the ball, you know?
He dropped the ball more than one way.
I think there is a tendency to maybe go a little overboard with this whole Japanese thing. I'd think that there is a ceiling, which has been clearly demonstrated by Nakamura, who was pretty much New Japan's one of their top 4 Japanese talents in New Japan at the time that he left. It was him, Okada, Naito, and Tanahashi were the big names in Japan. And so with one of those biggest names, and this was the guy that probably had the most charisma out of all 4 of them, if he's the one that can't, if he still can only reach to a level of, okay, you're going to be a fairly frequent Intercontinental United States champion level guy, but we're never going to push you towards the main event, then that's kind of the ceiling that all the other 3 guys would be looking at as well. And yeah, they've had some, I would say, people have had successful careers, quote unquote, from Japan in WWE. Tajiri is probably the one that immediately springs to mind as someone else who had a good run, but again, it's always going to have that limit attached to it. And Tajiri by the end of his career and Funaki by the end of his career, they're all comedy guys, and that was what Kushida was in Jacket Time as well. So
yeah, I mean, like, realistically, even though people will always do the whole like, well, Rey Mysterio was a smaller guy and he's a multi-time world champion. Anybody who is on the smaller side, no matter where they come from, already has a disadvantage in WWE. And Kushida is not some 6'5" jacked type of guy that would get Vince McMahon's attention, generally speaking. But then you throw the language barrier in on top of that. And then on top of that, he is coming out dressed up like Marty McFly. You're working with a bunch of negatives that are going to lead towards the same kind of scenario. So I think it's a smart decision for Kushida to just be like, look, I'm not going to re-sign. I know I've already probably peaked. And if I stay here, I'm just going to waste a bunch of years. Like, even if he goes to, like, you know, just goes back to New Japan, or he goes to, if he
Whatever
does
he
go
wants
to
to do,
AEW,
really.
or if he goes to fucking MLW or whatever, like, I'm sure it's going to be more rewarding than staying in NXT. He'll find something that's going to be serviceable, if not better. I mean, what's so bad about going back to New Japan and being in the same spot he was in before, you know?
Nothing. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna do just fine.
So speaking of New Japan, got a pretty big announcement, something we had all kind of assumed was going to be happening, especially when they started to trademark Forbidden Door. We're going to get that Forbidden Door pay-per-view. It is officially labeled AEW and then X, because it's like times plus, that kind of thing. New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door. It is happening on June 26th at the United Center in Chicago. And no matches have been announced yet, but that's perfectly fine. It's the very first announcement of this whole thing is just, hey, we're doing it. So it's already got enough attention and everything. I'm assuming, of course, all three of us are not going to be going there because it is Chicago, but we're definitely going to be covering it on the site for anybody who's wondering. That's not going to be one of those things where we don't do that.
Well, it's literally a pay-per-view.
It's an AEW pay-per-view, even more so, and it's a big, big deal, of course. So even if it would have just been like a New Japan show, I'd figure out some kind of way. But this is cool.
this is great. Like, this is what everybody wanted, and it's crazy. I think they trademarked Forbidden Door like way back in the early days of the pandemic, and I guess they always had this intention, but uncertain times led to things taking longer than it needed to. I think the way they did it was cool. Having, Adam Cole and Jay White kind of, usurp Tony Khan and do the announcement themselves. I think this has to be, I hope he's healthy, but I would assume this is where you got to get Kenny Omega back for this. He can go. And yeah, like, this is going to be an awesome, awesome show. The only thing that I'm more interested in beyond what the card will be is this is the first time AEW is going to present month to month pay-per-view offerings, and this is now a fifth pay-per-view for the company.
yeah, it's a very, very exciting time because there's a lot of dream matches that New Japan could put together alongside AEW. There's a lot of great competitors that could be exposed to a larger American audience. I think it's quite funny that when we originally spoke about when AEW was formed in the first place, that if they got a relationship going New Japan, that shot in the arm that New Japan could give AEW would be great. And now it's completely the other way around. Now it's AEW giving New Japan the shot in the arm that they need after the pandemic has absolutely ruined any buzz that they've had outside
Yeah.
of Japan. And so this is a good opportunity to get some talent over, get your Okada match, whatever that will end up being, get Shingo, get Naito, get Tanahashi, get everyone you possibly can over to have this great match filled with, I imagine, a lot of like multi-man tag team matches, at least from the bottom up, because that's how New Japan build most of their cards anyway. So, but this time it's more exciting because you just have New Japan on one side and AEW wrestlers on the other. I mean, we don't know how the structure of the card is going to be so far. We don't know whether it's going to be one of these things like the last time they did which Jay Wright referenced in his promo, a New Japan / company super show, which they did with Ring of Honor at Madison Square Garden. It was a bunch of Ring of Honor matches and then a bunch of New Japan matches combined together. So we don't know whether we're getting I presume they will do, because they've spoken about how they want to put these dream matches together, that it's going to be a lot of
crossover.
New Japan, a lot of crossover matches, like one-off matches.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to see, for instance, like a card versus Page or whoever the AEW World Champion is, and whoever the New Japan World Champion is at that stage as well, because they're both coming up against the tough challengers next time. Seemingly at their next pay-per-view. So we have no idea who those champions will be at that point. But an AEW champion versus New Japan Pro Wrestling champion would be big. There's a lot of other like great matches. It's probably too many to list, but we've already seen not a load of them. But we've seen a few of them already. We've seen Suzuki come over. We've got Ishii versus Adam Cole and Rampage. So they've already started the process with that. But this will be a really big super show. I think the most interesting, outside of the actual show itself and how much fun it will end up being, is that it's going on in Chicago. Chicago is usually the place where they host All Out. And All Out would be this is late June. All Out is either usually late August, early September, like Labor Day weekend. So it would be interesting if they decide that they're going to go back to Chicago for the next pay-per-view, or whether they decide to branch out with All Out and change that somewhere else. I think that it's kind of 50-50 in my head about whether they switch it up, just because it's a 2.5 to 3 month window, and they typically seem to go to Chicago once every 2 to 3 months anyway. So it wouldn't surprise me if, okay, we'll do this at Chicago and then we'll go to another stadium in Chicago for All Out, because that's what we do.
I think they are going to go to Chicago. I know a lot of people were salty about it too. Like, freaking Chicago's getting everything. But great venue. It's the United Center. Like, this will be their second show there, and the first to introduce CM Punk back to the wrestling world.
Despite the fact that I'm not a New Japan connoisseur, I'm disappointed that this isn't Madison Square Garden. Because that'd be pretty sweet to be able to, like, I would get tickets for it at that point. I would be like, all right, I'll pay for it. Like, I'll get whatever the price is going to be. Unless it's fucking ridiculous. I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a ticket or something. But, like, I would spend a couple $100 and be like, I'm going to go to a Madison Square Garden show. It's going to be this show. It's going to be fucking great, But I'm kind of hoping that means that they don't go to Chicago for All Out. Because I'm not of the opinion that you should have every year a show in a specific spot. Double or Nothing being in Vegas, I understand for the theme, but even then you don't really necessarily need to. And I would think that it would be like, all right, let's, stop doing the same exact thing. Let's go to like somewhere on the coast of like California or something like that. Let's go to fucking Montana. I don't know. Like, I don't know where the hell some of the other stadiums are that they could be taking advantage of.
I don't know if anybody wants to go to Montana for much.
Maybe, but like, in the middle of Maine, they're gonna go to something. But like, yeah, they haven't really run anything in like Texas in a while, right?
Well, they just ran Texas like 3 times.
Yeah, Battle of the Belts was in Texas.
Pay-per-view wise.
Well, not pay-per-view wise, no.
Well, yeah, fair.
So it's like, if they do only a few pay-per-views a year, I think they usually try to hit some different markets instead of just being like, all right, every All Out is in Chicago. Because why? Why does it need to be in Chicago? Because they did it there before? And they did it multiple times? Then, change it up. Who cares? It's not like it's called Chicago something other. Then it would be weird to be like, that's in Baltimore. Like, there's nothing that inherently needs to be Chicago for that. And if they're already getting this, it would be another thing if it was like in February and then in December at the end of the year. But 2-3 months, they'll sell it. It'll be fine. but I'd rather it be elsewhere. What matches, though, you guys think would be interesting? We got a little bit of a tease that there's like a Bullet Club and Undisputed Elite thing going on. Would you rather them team, or would you rather them go against each other?
I think they need to go against each other. If you're doing anything, you need to kind of finally have a little bit of finality in that Bullet Club Elite thing. I know Kenta wants to face CM Punk, and part of me thinks that he's gonna cost Punk the world title at Double or Nothing. But I also know that Okada wants to face Punk, and what better way to do that than to have it be champion versus champion? So there's that option too. I think if Okada doesn't face Punk, Okada's facing Bryan, because you got to get these matches in while you can. I don't know who I'd put Naito against though. What about you, Cal?
Page?
So there's a few that spring immediately to mind. I think it should be Danielson, Sabre Jr. That just like immediately springs to mind as okay, that's technically greater match as we could ever hope to see. I think Moxley Tanahashi, because Moxley has really wanted this match with Tanahashi. And
yeah, but he called him out. I wonder if they're gonna run that first at the Capital Collision show, because he called him out for the next New Japan show in America.
That is the interesting thing as well, because I don't think they're going to do Bullet Club against the Undisputed Elite on this show, because I think this will set the groundwork for future matches or future like crossover cards where that will happen. I think they'll be aligned at the very least on this show. I don't know in what fashion, but I don't think, because they're both heel factions, and I don't think they're going to change it up for this. You've got Okada could pretty much take on anybody. Punk is a very exciting option, but I think him against this new like main event Hangman Page would be interesting. I think there's also got, they're going to do Ishii versus Kingston at an upcoming New Japan show, that Capital Collision, so that's out for that option. But you could have the Kingston Suzuki singles match, potentially. That'd be fun. You've got, I think Naito and Andrade makes a lot of sense.
Oh, you got a good point there, pal.
Well, you were saying before that they tend to do a lot of multi-man tags. So what what could you do with like, say, like Guerrillas of Destiny against like, I don't know, FTR or something like that? Like you can play around with more tag team kind of scenarios. What factions do you think in New Japan could go up against people in AEW?
Well, New Japan realistically has 5 factions, and pretty much every wrestler is divided within those 5 factions. So the 5 factions, as it stands right now, and again, it's a little bit hazy because I haven't watched it as closely, is Suzuki-gun, which is headed up by Minoru Suzuki. It's got people like Zack Sabre Jr., Tai Chi, Kanemaru, El Desperado, people like that in there. Got LIJ, which is Naito, Shingo, Hiromu Takahashi, people like that. Got Bullet Club, and Bullet Club is kind of split in two between more of the there's a subsection within that called House of Evil, which is Evil's faction.
I'm looking at it here.
Yeah,
I guess
which I hope won't be in
Torture.
Yeah, House of Torture, yeah, which won't be. Which I'd be happy if they didn't appear at all, but they're gonna be there because they're a big deal to New Japan. You've got Chaos, which is Okada's faction, and they're kind of aligned at the moment with the Tanahashi group, which I can't remember the name of like Tanahashi's group. It's just basically every other babyface in New Japan is aligned to that group. And then
according to Wikipedia, it's just main
unit.
Literally
the main unit.
Yeah. And then you've got United Empire, which is Will Ospreay's group with Hanare and Jeff Cobb and people like that.
So what if they did? I think it would be an incredible waste because Bryan should be in a one-on-one, but I could see them doing BCC versus United Empire.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I could see LIJ maybe getting into it with the Andrade family office. I'd like a better group around Andrade, but I could see match like that.
I think FTR should win the New Japan, the IWGP Tag Team Championships on this show. Because currently I think the IWGP Tag Champions are Cobb and
Looks like Cobb and
Cobb,
the
Cobb
Great
and
Okan.
the Great Okan, yeah, who are part of United Empire. Great Okan is actually good.
Yeah, but like that's who they have their tag belts on right now.
I mean, they've never cared about tag team wrestling. They've never really given two shits about their tag team belts for as long as I've watched New Japan. The tag titles and junior heavyweight tag team championships have never really meant a huge deal. I mean, that's why Gorillas of Destiny have won it so many times, because it's just like, okay, we'll just give it back to Gorillas of Destiny at some point. And the thing with Gorillas of Destiny right now is they're baby faces, so it doesn't make sense to put them up against the FTR. Just obviously for the sake of, it's a good match, and you can do babyface. But if they're both on the babyface side of things right now, I would have probably put Gorillas of Destiny against the Young Bucks or something right now.
Who do you put up against MJF?
I got a feeling that's going to be one of those events that MJF doesn't take part in.
MJF notoriously hates New Japan. He should absolutely be there to shit all over New Japan, and then somebody.
He should wrestle against a kind of a Mr. New Japan, and I think the closest thing to that is Yuji Nagata. It's a match that MJF can win. It's not the most glamorous match in the world, but I don't think MJF should necessarily be in one of the top matches. He gets to be up a guy who's wrestled for New Japan for like going on 30 plus years. But
well, yeah. Who do you have in mind for Tanahashi? Like
Moxley.
Just definitely Moxley, even if they do it.
Yeah, they could do a rematch. They could do the rematch there as well. They could do a second rematch. I think that literally there's very little they could do wrong in this regard. There are two other things that we probably should discuss in this regard. It's the fact that because it's a New Japan / AEW show, that means that it probably won't have any women's matches on it. Because New Japan is a male only it's a male only roster. And so if they are going to do any matches, it would mean either bringing talent from Stardom over, because they're both owned by the same company.
Yeah, it would be Stardom.
They're both they're both owned by Bushiroad, both New Japan and Stardom. But they've already I think the New Japan president in his press release afterwards has said that that's something for down the road. So I imagine at some point they're going to do a Stardom / AEW show, which would be a pure women's only card.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah,
maybe they just plan on doing a Forbidden Door thing every year, and then they end up, okay, next time around we include the women or something.
Yeah, but I think that they need to do one of those shows this year, because otherwise there's going to be a bit of a backlash to the fact that, because of again, it's not the same as WWE going to Saudi Arabia and excluding the women, because it's not Japan. Oppress women, they just don't care about them that much. That's kind of the difference. The difference of opinion.
I think they could get away with doing no women on this show, but announcing that they're going to do one in the future.
Do one later in the year.
Maybe they don't even need to necessarily do one this year, but they can maybe be like, all right, the next time around is going to be like that. And maybe include like some little promo segment or something along those lines, just to be like, hey, look, we didn't get a chance to do it this time, but it's happening. We don't just completely ignore it. What I'm a little bit worried about, which I don't think worried, but like you said, that there's very little that they could do wrong here. I think that there are a couple things that they could. One being, you mentioned the idea of if you did like a group of New Japan matches and a group of AEW matches. I have no interest in that. If you're just gonna have like, all right, well, it's the Private Party against Jurassic Express. I don't fucking care.
Well, this is completely different from the RH New Japan. What was it? G1 Supercard, which was actually just like, hey, this is Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, but we're also running MSG and we got New Japan.
Yeah, see, I have no interest in something like that, though. I want them to do this person from New Japan against this person from AEW, or, I mean, now that ROH is a part of AEW and in some kind of way. Like maybe we get some kind of weird like back and forth. But I also don't want to see people that are on primarily the United States side of things, even if they are a part of New Japan, being like, okay, well, that's the representative from New Japan. Like, I don't care about, say, let's see, Alex Zane is in New Japan Strong. I don't want to see Alex Zane against somebody from AEW that he could have wrestled at any other point. Or the Good Brothers against somebody from AEW. Yeah, we could see that. Like, I want Tanahashi. I want Will Ospreay. I want Zack Sabre Jr. The people that you wouldn't normally see in any other kind of fashion. Naito against somebody. Jay White against Adam Cole, whatever it might be. That is what I'm looking forward to.
I think another point of interest, though, when you bring up the New Japan Strong guys, there's Ring of Honor ties to New Japan Strong. Ring of Honor is now owned by AEW. There's Impact ties to New Japan Strong and Bullet Club with, Gallows, Anderson, Chris Bay, Josh Alexander, who could very well be, by the end of Saturday night, the Impact Wrestling World Champion. There's a lot of stuff you can play with here with this Forbidden Door.
Well, the thing I'm actually most excited about beyond even this card itself, and again, very much looking forward to it, but very soon after this show, you're looking at the start of the G1. And the G1 is super exciting if there is now this collaboration between these two companies, because I could easily see 2 or 3 AEW guys. I mean, the G1 has 20 people involved. Typically, it's 2 blocks of 10. And so they could easily give 2 spots in each block to AEW guys. Because frankly, the last couple of G1s have been pretty lacking in star power because they've had to just primarily go with their own talent. They haven't been able to bring in too many people from outside of it. So even people from New Japan Strong, they haven't been able to bring in because they wrestle in America and they've been, due to the pandemic, limited to only the Japanese talent. So you're seeing people like fucking Bad Luck Fale still being in the G1. He's got no business wrestling in those matches. They had people like Yano is there as a fun like match, so that like breaks up the flow of everyone else wrestling hard hitting matches every single couple of nights, and Yano's there for comic relief. So you could pretty much put Orange Cassidy in that spot probably as well, but I would love to see people like who aren't really doing anything super significant at the moment in AEW, like Pac and Lance Archer and like even Trent or someone like that. It doesn't need to be the top guys, because the thing about G1 is that this guy's going to be away from the company for a solid month plus to if he's going to be involved from like start to finish. So you don't want somebody who you want to be on week-to-week television there, unless you're planning on flying them there and back all the time, which you could do, but that's going to take a toll on the rest of his body. So I'd rather it just be a case of, okay, we've assigned these 4 guys. AEW's been given 4 slots in the G1, and we've chosen these 4 people.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for like Wardlow, but it could work for Miro.
Yeah, Miro would be a great choice. Yeah, Miro would be excellent. So
Brian has to work the G1, right?
It's whether it's the issue of him is the case of, yes, he should be in the G1, but he's such a pivotal part of their week-to-week television.
Yeah, sure, but the thing is, Brian had WWE talking in New Japan because he wants to work the G1. I'm sure he's absolutely going to go, I got to do this. I got a short window here. You got to let me do this.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, they'll pick a few good people, and hopefully Brian can be involved in that. I'd hope that Pac is the one that I really want to see involved in it, because he just doesn't have a huge amount to do in WWE right now, and I think he have loads of great matches. Yeah, that's the point. Like, to be fair, he goes through sporadic breaks. I assume he's actually in the UK at the moment. That's just that's my assumption. I have no idea, but it's just a case of he does take sporadic breaks from the company, so he doesn't wrestle. he wrestles in a, like, he'll do a month and a half, 2 months of solid working, and then he'll go away for a couple of months, and then he'll come back. So, but yeah, I think that he's a good choice. Miro's a good choice. They've got nothing for him at the moment. Apparently, Miro's healthy, so if that's the way they decide to bring him back as part of this show, and then he'll be part of the G1 as well, that'd be great. But yeah, the best part about this whole announcement is the fact that these two companies are now officially firmly working together. And that means that as long as this show goes well, there'll be a lot more of these collaborations in future, I imagine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that they're doing this. And between picking up ROH and doing this crossover stuff, more and more and more, it just looks like, okay, AEW is what NXT was leading towards before WWE fucked it all up.
Yeah. And also this discussion that people are having about how, AEW only plays towards its core audience, and they're not doing moves which will help them go on to new fans. I would have to say that whether you believe that's the case or not, as a fan of AEW, I don't give a fuck. It's like, I don't care. I don't care if you're growing your audience or new people would join your company. I'm watching your company. I think this is really cool, and so I'm going to love it. That type of the only people that like shout about this stuff are people that either don't watch AEW or just who live to shit on AEW, or like they're people that are thinking with the business sense. I'm thinking it's from the fan perspective of, wow, AEW's doing stuff with New Japan. That's really cool. I couldn't give a fuck if that means that one other person starts watching the product that isn't already doing it. This is great.
And there is just this strange, like, I have a platform and I need to shout from it. I need to pretend like I understand, the business sense and the bigger picture. I don't care about the bigger picture. That's why, I make the moves that I do when we do our fun little drafts, because I'm worried about me. And like, this is very appealing to me. I enjoy AEW because it's wrestling fans first. I think like the weird casual fan discussion, there's no real I get it when you're talking about WrestleMania, because yes, you will get a bunch of people don't watch wrestling tuning into WrestleMania just because. But this isn't for them, and that's perfectly fine. And who cares if it's just catering to a core audience that's quite frankly been underserved for quite some time.
The thing that gets me with those discussions is like, they're not doing anything wrong in that sense. They just have a different strategy. And if everybody does the exact same, target the mainstream thing, everything is the same. We don't like a lot of that stuff that WWE does. So when people talk about, AEW only plays to its core audience, it has a core audience, and that is why it keeps its core audience.
Quite frankly, that's why it exists.
It exists to be for those
to the casual,
people, right?
To the hardcores.
I understand if you think that, a little indie fed is playing too much to its core audience and not growing because it's like, I don't know, just make up a promotion like, Times Square Pro Wrestling, and it's like, okay, well, we're only ever going to run a show in Times Square. All right, well, the likelihood that you're going to branch out and get further is probably very low. And then they would go, yeah, well, you're not the real audience unless you're the ones that go there. Like, people do have that kind of gatekeeping sensibility for indies, and that's the thing that I feel is more of a problem, because then those people go, if you're not the type of person who goes to like a CZW show, and you're not the loyal CZW person, and it's not for those people in the crowd that are there every week, then you're going against the thing. Okay, well, do you want to have the same 30 people and those are your only fans? No. Well, AEW is not in that regard. It's got a television deal. They're building fans. They're creating new things here and there. They're grabbing stars from all over the place. It's not just the quote unquote WWE reject kind of approach like Impact did for a little bit. They're bringing people from New Japan. They're bringing people from the Indies. They're bringing people from all over the place. Like, they're creating a pro wrestling show for pro wrestling fans that isn't going to necessarily appeal to the mainstream in the same way that WWE does because they aren't targeting that wider range. But holy shit, how much do we complain about that stuff on WWE? Unless you have the numbers and you really are like, you went to college and you got your degree in business and whatever, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
And even in that regard, like, listen, GCW thrives on GCW fans who go to the shows and think that they're like a part of the show because they're regulars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay because, quite frankly, that's the world we live in now, where you create your niche and you thrive in it and you expand as much as you can. And if you want to exist in that niche, perfectly fine.
And if you, like, some people would want to stay there forever. And GCW, realistically speaking, if GCW wants to be a bigger promotion, they would need to change that. And then everybody would go, oh, they all sold out. So it's kind of like, it's the same as with everything else, like with music and with film and with everything like that. If you are the rebellious underground entertainment thing, people have this weird sensibility where they feel proud of that they're in this small group. And then when it gets more mainstream, then they're all like, oh, I hate it now, whatever like that. I don't see why that's a problem with AEW. Is AEW successful? I don't know about the metrics that they're judging that by. Looks like it's pretty fucking successful to me. So I'm going to enjoy it in the meantime. Not everything that they do is for me. A lot of things that they do just go over my head, or it's something that I flat out skip or whatever. I couldn't care less about maybe a third of the roster of AEW. Like, I really honestly, some of the people that I even like, I honestly don't even care about necessarily. But like, Danhausen is not for me. I don't think that Danhausen is a fun act. But hey, if other people like it, cool. You know? Like, what's the problem? Yeah, if you spend $1 million to sign him, it's probably not the best thing for you. But just as much as I don't dig the Danhausen thing, and I don't think that certain people in the, with the women's division or the tag team division or whatever might not necessarily be the main thing I would be focusing on, I can understand why some people are also upset about the Saddam Singh thing. And it's like, well, that's a different type of thing. Maybe that's for somebody else. And the New Japan thing is like, yeah, that's not necessarily going to bring in more of the casuals that would approach for WrestleMania, but it is going to be a stronger thing for the people that are into New Japan and the indies and the pure pro wrestling fans and all that. Maybe that's the difference maker of some people that aren't super into AEW, and they're the ones that are like, NWA is my main thing or something. I don't see the negative in this whatsoever. I think that people are just, they want to bitch about something for the sake of it. But this is cool. This is one of those stories that we are going to track over time, and eventually when they start announcing matches for it, and when we start getting into, obviously, the week of, we're going to do another predictions thing. We're going to treat it like a regular pay-per-view because it is pay-per-view. So I will try to do a little bit more research of New Japan in the meantime here and there to get a little bit more familiar with people. Like, I can't tell you what Tanahashi's finisher is, for instance, but I know I've seen some Tanahashi matches and I like them. So yeah, I'm more familiar with New Japan right now than I ever have been. So that's saying something. Let's see. Let's go to another thing here. Let's go to, well, we just talked about the pay-per-view announcement. Let's talk about a non-pay-per-view, but a special TV episode. The next NXT one, which I hated how they did this. Normally, at the very least, on an episode of NXT, they'll say, hey, in a couple weeks, we're going to have Halloween Havoc. They'll put a graphic up. They'll reference it here and there. Instead, on this episode of NXT, They're just like, yeah, in 2 weeks at NXT Spring Breakin, whatever, blah blah blah. And then they still didn't bother to put up a graphic outside of 2 of the matches that they had announced. But there's no like, the logo itself or something. Last time I checked, there wasn't anything on NXT's Twitter of like, and remember everybody, NXT Spring Breakin is coming in 2 weeks or something. I also hate the name. NXT Spring Breakin? Like with the, breaking your bone kind of thing. I hate it. What do you guys feel about it?
So when I first heard the name, I thought it was like Spring Break-In, like,
Separate words.
Somebody breaking into a house.
Huh.
And I guess it's supposed to be like, hey pal, we're all relaxing here. We're spring breaking. It's fine. It's a little lame, but it's different. It's the first one of these kinds of NXT things that isn't just a former takeover name, which is good.
Outside of New Year's Evil.
Like even that they still had in the black and gold brand thing, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's fine. I think it just serves as another special episode. I don't think any major happenings will be going on, but it at least got some attention, and that's what they were looking for.
I think that the actual titling of it as Spring Breakin is an indication of what they think the lingo the kids are saying nowadays.
Yeah.
That's like the indication of, oh yeah, all the kids are all spring breaking around about this time. Yeah, that's the term, right? We're still young. We can we know what the kids are into.
We're still hip.
Yeah. But yeah, I would just prefer it if it was just NXT Spring Break.
Yeah, but then you get the fucking weirdos that are like, Joey Janela did it first. He did it first. Like we guys saw some of that. Like
well, he did it first, but then the term Spring Break, the Spring Break is a thing. It's like
yeah,
they have Breaking Point.
Well, then they're never bringing that back, Tony. Like as much as you want it, as much as you want it, it will never come back.
You do go there a lot.
I like that name. I think that was a great name that they should have used more often. But like that literally has break in it, and it's a trademark that they own. So if they brought back Roadblock and these other ones, like you already have a trademark for it.
Well, I Spring Breaking Point, Tony.
I mean,
but
that's
it's not cool. It doesn't have the end with an apostrophe over it.
Yeah,
that's what makes everything cool.
They got Spring Stampede that they got brought back.
They could bring it back if it's a break-in point. Like it just doesn't have the G in breaking. Just
breaking
cut
point.
that out. Yeah, breaking point. Yeah,
but even
cool.
then,
that's it.
I think that is even better than Spring Breakin', because Spring Breakin' just sounds dumb. It really sounds like it's not a pro wrestling show. It sounds like it's like, the new special menu at a restaurant or something.
I think you just hit the nail on the head, though, Tony. They don't want it to sound like it's a pro wrestling show.
Well, fuck me. I mean, they're a pro wrestling program. That's
no, they're sports entertainment.
Even that, it doesn't sound like a sports entertainment show. It doesn't sound like a sports show to me, or an entertainment thing. Like I look at it as like the Spring Breakin' menu at the fucking local diner. That the apostrophe thing, like you said, is extremely lame in that whole like, this is the lingo. Oh, well, we didn't put the G in there. Okay.
Super cool.
We're shooting from the hip, not shooting from the hip. Haha. Like,
What have they announced for this show? Anything?
So right now it is, they carried on the story of Joe Gacy, who had abducted Rick Steiner just so he could let him go, but then take his Hall of Fame ring and put it in fire, put it on himself, and then hand it back to Braun Breaker and trade it for a title match, and then push him off a part of the stage that people apparently booed. So it's Braun Breaker against Joe Gacy, and it's a triple threat match between Solo Sikoa, Carmelo Hayes, and Cameron Grimes for the NXT North American Championship. So it's just 3 of the people that were in the ladder match in a rematch.
Okay. So
That's fine.
I don't imagine it'll be anything super exciting. Then like those 2 sound like title retentions to me.
Mm-hmm.
Very much more significantly on the Bron Breakker side of things, I think that they could.
Yeah, Joe
Gacy
is not fucking winning that belt.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they could give the title to Solo Sikoa or Carmelo Hayes. Not a huge difference, but I imagine that Grimes would still retain. I imagine they'll do something dumb as they usually do with Index and.
Oh, they're gonna be on a beach.
Yeah, they'll be on a beach somewhere.
Well, they're gonna be spring breaking.
Yeah, they'll do like a really tame, wild segment, or something like that. They'll do a bikini contest, but it'll be Loomis and Hudson. Yeah.
Is the Nikita Lyons and Natalya match confirmed?
Not yet.
Because that's, I think, just happening on NXT. So I'm
I
assuming
want to see that match until they're ready for Lyons to beat Natty.
Natty against Cora is a thing that,
Yeah, maybe this is when Cora Jade interferes, cost Natalya the match against Nikita Lyons.
I'd be all right with it because I'm just like, I liked the Ziggler thing because they never give him anything, but like, Natty doesn't need to be beating people on NXT TV, and quite frankly, they have made Cora Jade look as bad as a human being can look in a wrestling perspective. So I'm ready to see her beat Natty at this show and start winning things, man.
There's always a chance that the Creed brothers get a tag team title shot against Pretty Deadly. I don't think that they're continuing that Zion Quinn and Draco Anthony feud. It seems like Zion Quinn has moved on and he's feuding with Wesley for some reason.
I don't think he's feuding with Wesley. I think they needed to get Wesley on television.
Legato seems to have something going on with Tony D'Angelo, and he's got 2 new goons. We didn't figure out who those goons were.
One of them's got to be Eichner.
Well, they didn't really show their faces all that much. Eichner could be one, but I mean, he is Italian, so that would make sense. There's not many people that like I'm aware of from the new batch that I could be like, okay, that looks like so and so. I couldn't tell you who like Troy Donovan is. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know about like David Bastian or Edwin Grand. Like none of these names are people that stand out to me as anything where I could be like, okay, well that guy probably looks like this or something. But I could see Legato against Tony D'Angelo's group happening here. It's also hard to predict those kind of things because you never know what they're going to put on those special shows and what are going to be the week of and the week after, the week before. So they do like to spread things out. I highly doubt we're going to get much of like an emphasis on, I don't know, say Grizzled Young Veterans might be over with. I don't think that that's going to lead to something for Spring Breakin.
Let's talk about that because they flat out said that they were leaving NXT, and I'm worried, that you won't see Gibson and Drake, because they shortened their names, around NXT anymore, and I'm like, oh no. Are you going to bring them back and call them, like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum or whatever? Like, I'm hoping that they're just sort of piecing out, like Kushida, but what do you think that they're going to end up doing?
Part of me thinks they're going to go to the main roster.
Think they're going to go be with Edge?
No. No, I don't think that they're going there. There's at least a small part of me, maybe like put this on like 15% or something, that they're just going to pop up on like SmackDown.
SmackDown has gotten all of the new people so far.
But I kind of got a feeling that they're probably going to leave.
I think that they're just leaving, but I guess time will tell. What about you, Callum? Like Zach Gibson? Don't take your shoes off.
It's impossible to predict, isn't it?
Yeah.
They'll keep coming up with to the main roster with a gimmick that nobody understands and is just completely dumb, or they'll stay in NXT and just be renamed, because I imagine that they can't use the names Zach Gibson and James Drake because they use those on the UK independent circuit.
Well, yeah, that's why they seem to have shortened them. But I'm like, do you really want to call James Drake? Like, is that how low we're reaching now?
Or they get released in a couple of weeks' time.
I think that's where I'm going with it. Like,
yeah,
I think it's a bit of a. I don't really want to play the sort of guessing game of it, because it's like you even when you did it in the past, it was like a case of, okay, they might be going up, but it would be the same person going up. Maybe they changed the gimmick slightly, but you wouldn't have to think about that. Now I have to think about what their new names would end up being, or what their new gimmick is going to be, or anything along those lines. Are they going to team up with Butch? Be called Bidge and Bodge or something like that. I have no idea, but
Bidge, Bodge.
Yeah, Bidge, Bodge, and Butch. But yeah, so it's hard to predict anything with that regards. I hope they're going out of the company as well, but again, they don't stand out to me as some two people that AEW would be like snapping their wrists off to try and like sign and stuff like that. Like, be shaking the hands so vigorously. It's like, okay, we need to get Gibson and Drake into here. They're obviously really good hands in tag team division, but that's kind of what they'd be, I imagine, in AEW, is people at the same level of a Private Party or Varsity Blondes or something like that. They wouldn't be like at the very, very top end of that division. Maybe New Japan Strong, maybe going back to the UK. There are options, obviously, outside of AEW, but I don't think if they were to leave WWE, it'd be a ground-shaking thing for either side.
No, and we know that there is always still a possibility that we're going to get another round of releases coming up, because we don't know why they didn't do it on the 15th like they had done the previous 2 years. But we had May, what is the thing again? It's like May 18th or something?
May 5th.
May 5th is the...
Yeah, it's yeah.
May 8th?
Yeah.
For some reason I'm thinking an 8 is involved.
May 5th is Thursday. It's usually on a Thursday that these things happen.
Yeah, so I mean, the next call is going to be the next, like, the range to be like, all right, well, are you safe after the call? Essentially. So maybe
at this point, it's not even like, are you safe? It's like, maybe some of these people, are looking forward to going.
Yeah, I mean, like Kushida, for instance. But yeah, grizzled veterans might be at a point where they're just like, look, if you're not going to give us the tag team titles and you're not going to really do anything with us anymore, why are we spinning our wheels in NXT? Let's just leave. But maybe they get repackaged. Maybe they bring them up to Raw and SmackDown. It's really hard to tell. The only thing we know for sure is that they have not popped up on the NXT UK tapings for the next few weeks. That doesn't mean that they can't do like a vignette or, film something extra, but they're at least not showing up there as far as like, and then, in the next episode of NXT UK, they wrestle a tag team match against so-and-so. We'll get into that a little bit first, though. Yeah, I mean, that's something to keep our eyes out on. We got people popping up, like Roxanne Perez made her debut, so they're shifting the roster around quite a bit.
That was so weird.
She's going to debut next week. Actually,
debuts next week. Actually, right now.
Yeah.
Like, what?
She beats JC Jane. She had a good intro to herself, all things considered. I don't see anything else really worth talking about on NXT at the very least. Grayson Waller and Sanga aren't a team anymore. That took me by surprise when he's like,
because
he's like, I've been carrying him for the past 3 months. And I'm like, 3 months? Didn't they just fucking start like 3 weeks ago or something? It does not feel like that was 3 months ago.
Even so, 3 months is not that long of a time, but yeah, you were thrown off.
I thought for sure that they hadn't done anything until like right before Stand and Deliver. I was like, that was a month ago at most, So, I mean, that's another thing. But going around looking at some other stories we got going on here. Before we get into the next one, I want to just pivot over for a moment and tell you guys about our sponsors for this episode, the way that we normally do things here. You guys know it. You love it. Manscaped. Hey there, everybody. We are back with another one of our unboxing video things that we have here from Manscaped. Yeah, I keep thinking that there's some kind of a label on here, but instead, sure. Yeah, the label there, it's worked. And it's obviously up on the screen. Now, we already showed you guys the deodorant, which is great, and you can check that out from the other things before. But we are going to check out another one here, so...
Deodorant's 10 out of 10.
Let's see. We're going to go with... the body spray.
Oh.
Let me just... Da-da-da. We got the body spray thing going on here. Hydrating body spray. So, you got the nails for this. I don't. Obviously, everything that we are talking about has the same promo code applicable. So, if anybody wants to pick up anything like that, then use it. Pick that up.
Also vegan. Also cruelty-free. Alcohol-free. Paraben-free. Sulfate-free. And dye-free. So, this is actually good for your body. And it has very clear instructions here, so you have no excuse to not use this and be smelly, especially now that's getting warmer. I forgot to unlock it. And it has that Manscaped scent. That's just delicious.
That, like, not quite musky,
it
but
smells like men.
Smells like guy.
But sexy men. Like, Pierce Brosnan would use this. Or maybe he already does.
Specifically Pierce Brosnan, not the other Bonds, I guess.
Daniel Craig could rock it too. Because it's a good scent, but it's kind of like, you know?
Well, to quote Timothy Dalton, you want it.
You want it.
Check out Every Beat Will Kill. So that is something that, of course, I will be using and making her smile, among other things. And you should definitely be picking that up. Use the promo code SMARK. It's just the name of the website, Smark. Get 20% off and free shipping on that, or this box of goodies, or anything else you want to order. The shears kit, or the lawnmower 4.0, or the weed whacker, the plow, whatever it might be. All the different things you can use to cut stuff. I love the different terms that they have. So go to Manscaped, pick that stuff up. We want to thank you for doing that. We want to thank Manscaped for sponsoring us. And now we are going back to the show. And back to the show here. Thank you to Manscaped, and thank you for listening to that, everybody. We are going to switch things over and talk about some of the spoilers. So, spoiler warning for the NXT UK tapings that have been happening over the past 2 days. But before we get specifically into that, we want to talk about another trademark that is out there. WWE decided to trademark Tiger Turan, and we know that Tiger Turan wrestled for NXT UK based off of the spoilers. Again, if you don't want to know, earmuffs, skip ahead, whatever it is. Tiger Turan beat Tate Mayfairs, I don't know who that is, and Josh Morrell on the 2 different tapings from the 20th and 21st. I have no idea who Tiger Turan is. And I tried looking this up to see, like, okay, maybe Tiger Turan.
God, did they rename Teoman? They trademarked Teoman, right? They're good with that.
Yeah, Teoman, he wrestled elsewhere on there. He's fine. I think it might be the person who popped up and cost Kenny Williams the match against, it was, what was it called? A backlot brawl or back alley brawl. I think back alley brawl, I think is what it was called.
Are they wearing a mask?
Sam Gradwell. Because somebody in a mask.
Dude, is it, what's his face?
It might be Amir Jordan.
Yeah.
And if they literally brought back Amir Jordan and renamed him Tiger Turan now, I just fucking 2 days ago removed him from the roster because I was like, they haven't said a goddamn thing. It's been over a year. He's got to be gone. I'll just remove him. And it's, WWE doesn't announce these things anymore. So I'm just assuming that he's gone and I'm going to do whatever. If they just fucking did it, it'll be like, you waited until right after that. But there's no indication from these tapings of like, and then Tiger Turan then interacted with Kenny Williams or something. So I'm completely confused about who that might be. Maybe it's just some guy I've never heard of before that they gave the name Tiger Turan to. Like, it's just some guy from the UK scene. Kind of like when they just go, hey, we got the Rohan Raja name, and I had never heard of whatever his name was ahead of time. I forget. couple of things that'd be interesting, at least. I mean, we're not going to tell you necessarily every single thing that happened on here, because who cares about, like, Damon Kemp beat Danny Jones. Okay. Nobody's going with that. But the things to be aware of, we got some title retentions. It seems like something happens during the NXT UK title match between Jordan Devlin and Ilya Dragunov, where the title changes hands, but then they restart the match. So I don't know what's happening there. I got a little bit of a thing there. I don't know if they're going to go with, like, they recorded both. And you might just hear, like, okay, well, we restarted the match and Dragunov retained, so that way they don't spoil that the title changed hands. Or if we're going to go with, okay, Dragunov got pinned, but Devlin's shoulders were down, and that's why they restarted it. I don't really know specifically about that. You guys have a theory for that?
I don't really think so. I think that might just be an angle they're running. Because NXT UK likes to do these sorts of angles because they're pretty much tucked away, doing their own thing. I'm still waiting for the news that they're just gonna kind of consolidate, but I guess we'll see.
No, I don't have any sort of theories. I don't watch the show, so it doesn't really bother me one way or the other, really.
Good for Damon Kemp getting a win, though. Yeah,
Bobby there's this odd talent exchange that's going on. They announced it this week, so this isn't that much of a spoiler. But Ivy Nile, Von Wagner, Damon Kemp, and I forget the other one, Lash Legend. For some reason, that group just decided to go over there, and they're like, they're going to be here for the next couple weeks. So we got, like, Ivy Nile beats Nina Samuels, and Lash Legend is on Supernova Sessions and whatnot.
Good. They need the seasoning. They need they need the experience, especially Legend. She needs to work with other people outside of the Performance Center.
She beats Amelia McKenzie. I don't know when these episodes are going to air. There's more than enough episodes that this is going to last for quite a while, because they usually do about, like, 3 to 4 matches per show. This week they did 2, I think, because one of them, they've been into this habit lately where it's like, okay, well, our last match, it's going to last like a half an hour out of the hour show. And I'm assuming, like, the Dragunov and Devlin match is probably going to be one of those matches that lasts quite a while. We're going to get that in 2 weeks, I think. Next week is a contract signing, and then they're going to do this Dragunov match, I should say. But between this, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, about like 10 episodes that they might be able to get out of this, maybe even more. So this is going to carry well into the next couple of months. But we do know that in some fashion, based off of these tapings, the NXT UK tag team titles have changed hands. There was a triple threat match, and it was Mustache Mountain and Deep Familia and Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter. And Carter and Smith won the titles. So that is yet another example of the growing trend in NXT UK in particular, but in NXT too, of we want the person to have a title match, lose, and then they can win it on another title match, that they need a rematch for some reason. I don't like this philosophy. I don't like the idea that somebody loses their title shot, has to regain it, and then they win it. Every once in a while, maybe that works, but to me, that's kind of like, you already lost. Get in the back of the fucking line. And this has been happening with almost every championship title change for like a solid year. What's going on with this?
That's how we're keeping the stories going, Danny.
Just dragging it out. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah,
it didn't happen to Isla Dawn, but like it's happened a lot.
I don't think we should really get into the mindset of why WWE does as many rematches as WWE does. So
I think with NXT UK though, it's different, Like they're just trying to fill programming. because that whole brand is kind of like the one that survived from all the things NXT was doing to expand. And now that they're all there and they're all under contract, it's like, oh, well, we got to use them.
Well, after that, we've got matches coming up like a dog collar match. We got people turning on each other. Symbiosis is, I guess, no longer a group. Primate and T-Bone turned on Eddie Dennis. That's another tag team going down. And also Mustache Mountain is no longer a group. Well, I mean,
Yeah, well, that took a while.
It'll be, a couple weeks from now when they air this, but they had lost those tag team titles, like I just said, to Smith and Carter.
And Trent Seven was like, bitch, right?
Yeah, basically. He announces his retirement, but then goes like, nah, and turns on Tyler Bate.
Good. They've been teasing that for quite some time.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are other things if you are interested in checking out the full breakdown. Go to smarkmoment.com. You'll see it on the sidebar. You'll see it on the TV results if you want to know that. Like, I think that maybe a male got injured.
Oh.
I don't know for sure. Or, if you want Mark Coffee beat Saxon Huxley, whatever the fuck, those kind of things, then check that out. But Tiger Turan is a new name, and we got two teams splitting, and we got new tag team champions, and we got something potentially happening with this like talent exchange thing going on, and we got a little bit more seasoning for somebody like a Damon Kemp. We got the seemingly the end of the Wild Boar feud. So there's some stuff coming up on NXT, NXT UK. I mean, no indication from here about people going over, but it is kind of surprising in a certain way. No A-Kid on these tapings and no Nathan Fraser. So maybe they are sticking in NXT. And this is weeks of content and no names for them. We got a lot of Stevie Turner. We got a lot of Charlie Dempsey and such. Oh, wait, no, actually there is A-Kid. There is one A-Kid match. Never mind. Charlie Dempsey beats A-Kid. So, yeah, at least he might not be necessarily, but no Nathan Fraser. And I kind of like the idea of doing a little bit of that talent exchange, but I would rather them just get rid of NXT UK more than anything else.
Here's a fucking heartbreaker of a breaking news. Darius Martin's injured again. Leg injury. The leg injury. Sean just reported it.
I guess we're going back to the Dante Martin singles thing.
Yeah.
Huh. What caused the injury? Is there like the specific match or something?
Nothing specifically stated. Just that he's expected to miss a lot of time.
No specific timetable. Just a lot.
Yeah, he'll be missing. I guess the actual phrasing is he's sidelined, and Sean tweeted he's expected to miss quite a bit of time.
Maybe they didn't do the right type of thing the last time. That sucks. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Is there anything else for this week you guys want to run down?
Ezekiel, we should talk about the lie detector test from Raw.
Not a huge fan.
I thought it was fucking hysterical. Like that's a good example of the performers make the segment that would have otherwise been a really bad segment.
Looking at Raw, I don't remember liking anything from this episode of Raw except for that Theory won the United States title.
Yeah, that's good. That was weird though. They had like all the heels.
What's up with that?
Like, yeah, you did it, man. Like it felt so old school. Like, yeah, he's a heel, so we all got to celebrate with him. And then Vince, of course, celebrates with him. And yeah.
Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley split up. Rhea Ripley turned on her as expected. They did that thing where Bianca Belair got fined $1. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is working, but it's all going nowhere, it's seemingly. Like, the Cody stuff is good, but this is the first week where I felt like, uh-oh, We're just running through matches that could be saved for big pay-per-views. Like him and Kevin Owens should be a big story. Not that it won't be down the line, but you know what I mean.
You guys down for Edge's justification of having another rematch with AJ Styles of just, I didn't get my point across, so let's do it again?
No, AJ should be challenging him, but that's a small thing.
Oh God, what do you guys think about the wedding?
What a weird segment. I thought it was fun, but it was just weird.
Callum, your thoughts?
You didn't see it.
I didn't watch any of Raw this week.
You didn't even see the
clips?
the YouTube clip?
Nah, I didn't. I'm on holiday. I don't want to watch anything.
I gotcha.
I'm envious. I hated this wedding segment with a passion. I hated everything about it. I didn't think any moment of it was funny. And I usually think that R-Truth can save something, but the crowd wasn't digging it. And R-Truth is like, hey guys, come on, please, let me get these jokes out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just end it. What was the point of Tamina flipping everybody around to go back to the thing?
And for 5 seconds, I was like, is this all just another swerve to be like, ha, gay wedding, we did it. Sasha and Naomi made the segment for me because they're just completely acting a fool while this shit's going on, and I laughed because what else are you gonna do? Of course they did what they did. You know, Reggie only wanted the belt, Tamina wanted the belt, Zawa wanted the belt, and then R-Truth just takes Dana, who wins the belt back, and carries her around like he did with Carmella 3 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, we got that weird sound going on. This time it's Rob.
What happened?
This weird, that springy sound that I'm hearing every once in a while. You didn't hear that?
I didn't hear anything.
Huh. It's strange. It's literally, it pops up on my screen as that there's something on Rob's side of things. It's just it sounds like somebody just took a slinky and did something with it. I don't know. I'll let you listen to that back on there. And for some reason, the Alexa thing is going off. What is happening here? Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Wow, we're going all over the place. I think that's a sign that we should probably end the episode. We started talking about the wedding thing and everything just goes crazy. Well, I hated the wedding. I think that is indicative of how WWE just doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and they thought that this was funny, and I thought that it was terrible. I don't even think that this is the type of thing where I could be like, all right, it's not funny in my mind, but I can understand why people are laughing about it. I don't think that it's legitimately funny. Like the Tamina thing, she goes, all right, let's swap this person, let's swap that person, then let's swap back. Fucking why? I just don't get it. I don't understand their philosophy. I would hate if somebody tasked me to write that segment and that was on my, okay, I produced that. That would be the type of thing that I'd be like, please take my name off. Say Alan Smithy wrote it. But,
and then they didn't even, what did they accomplish? Nobody knew who won the belt.
Right. And for some reason, R-Truth is just like, I'm happy helping Dana Brooke out. Logically,
I thought
the
whole deal was going to be R-Truth gets the belt back. Mm-hmm. The end.
That's how it should have been, at the very least. They didn't even do that. But it's weird that for such a shitty segment that somebody along the lines had the mentality of, hey, well, who would be the bridesmaids for Tamina? Probably Naomi and Sasha Banks because Team Bad. How the fuck do you remember that?
They had the idea.
It had to be somebody like them, yeah.
Not only selling me on watching this segment back.
Oh, no, you shouldn't. That's why I said I'm envious that you didn't see it. Because I wish I didn't.
The way you're describing it is just giving me the total indication that Ryan Satin probably loved it.
Does he tend to like those things?
Well, he likes everything that WWE does. So that's,
you just say, yeah, he likes the show. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, no. This is bad. Anything from AEW you guys want to talk about? There's nothing that stood out to me that I felt like we needed to address?
Just a regular fun show without much anything super spectacular. I mean, you had the New Japan announcement, but like Dustin Rhodes versus CM Punk
match.
Yeah, I would say like every match on the show was good for the majority of the sense. Just one of those ones where it's just okay, this is just a good show of good wrestling matches without anything super standout exciting. Like the coffin match was good. You saw Sting dive on more people. Sting it's just Sting's thing now. Just like how many people can I land on with a crossbody? Sammy Guevara's clearly turning heel.
Yeah.
And Ethan Page is turning face. It looks like because his promos are so good at the moment. Like his promos against Sammy have been great, and I think that he should probably separate from Lambert and Sky at some point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Sky seems like he's probably going babyface too. I mean, Lambert was cutting a babyface promo.
Well, it's babyface because it's against Sammy and Ty. It's not babyface because of the verbiage he was saying about basically how his girlfriend likes to get banged by multiple people. Like
that's babyface.
Dan Lambert would be a babyface if he would just not have the sexist delivery because he can cut promos.
But he did say things like "you turned your back on the people" things. So it strikes me more as like he's turning babyface. You know.
I just that crowd won't accept him turning babyface. They'll sooner accept MJF turning babyface than they will Dan Lambert.
Well, you can be a babyface that doesn't get that reaction.
No, that's the.
So you advocate that he should be a bad babyface?
No, that's legitimately that's not like the measuring stick. Is if you're a good babyface or something. Yeah, Roman Reigns was a babyface for years and he got booed. John Cena was a babyface for years.
Yeah, I think AEW are kind of in the mindset for the most part to avoid bad things.
Yeah,
but I mean, they can be a babyface that just doesn't get over.
But I'm saying, why would they turn? Tony, stop.
What do you mean? How am I approaching this from the wrong angle? I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying,
but I think that he'll stay heel because they know he's good as a heel.
Probably, but I mean, that was a babyface promo for sure. So
right, but he cut babyface promos on Brandy.
Yeah. But I mean, now with Scorpio Sky reteaming with Frankie Kazarian and asking him for help, and like it seems like all three of them were in a much more babyface capacity this week.
Yeah, it's generally, I think it's more of a case of it's not him turning babyface; it's him feuding with people who at the start should have been treated as babyfaces, but the crowd hate them so much that they're heels now.
I still don't get how that even happened. Why everybody just got so like bent out of shape over the Taikanshi and thing, like
because of Toei and the whole thing about their relationship and stuff along those lines. And again, I'm not saying it's for the right reasons, but it's one of the cases like people turn on people for stupid reasons. People have turned on those two because Tai is really hot and they're annoyed at the fact that Sammy is with Tai.
Yeah, they're mad that they're a good-looking couple that has sex. It's not very well reflected on the audience to be like, I'm so mad.
Yeah, in reality, the audience are the heels.
Yeah.
But it's like, because the audience is the one that dictates one way or the other, so they're turning into it. So he's coming out now with the big, like long jacket, and the long jacket is always an indication that you're turning heel. And he's playing up now even more with the Tai thing. I think Tai is due a heel turn as well because I think she's done everything that she can outside of winning a title as babyface.
Yeah,
in the babyface role. So I think they'll work better as a heel package. I kind of want this to be the groundwork for Miro to come back and destroy them. but the fact that I want them to be destroyed is the fact that they're playing up well this obnoxious side of their characters now.
I want Brian to beat him. I want Brian to just be like, vlogs are stupid and so are you. You know, I'm taking that title.
Yeah, but then see if they remember that Danielson is married to Brie Bella, that everybody's going to hate Danielson too.
What? No, I think he already lived through that.
One of the things I also want to bring up is that they're still doing all these Owen Hart qualifiers. So they had Kyle O'Reilly beat Jungle Boy and Britt Baker beat Daniel Camilla, Vanessa Bourne, yeah. And I'm thinking, how many more qualifiers are there going to be? Because if these tournament finals are happening at the at Double or Nothing, which is at the end of May, they've got about just over a month to get through all of the matches. So how many more qualifiers there need to be until we've got presumably the 8 men and 8 women that will be competing in the final tournament?
So they did announce a couple people coming up for other qualifiers. We know we're going to get Cash against Dax,
which is great.
Yeah, awesome.
Trying to find like if somebody has a breakdown of this anywhere.
I think they announced.
I've checked Wikipedia. So again, Wikipedia, take it with a grain of salt. But currently, the people that have been qualified for the women's tournament are Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, Hikaru Shida, Red Velvet, Ruby Soho, and Britt Baker.
And then we need 2 more people. So 2 more qualifying matches for the women.
Yeah.
To set up the other 2
on Rampage, right?
That.
Yeah, and the men's at the moment we have had
Samoa
Joe and Kyle O'Reilly. So they've only had those 2. And we have Adam Cole and Tomohiro Ishii on Rampage, and we have Dax Howard and Cash Wheeler on Dynamite. So that will be 4 people, but they need to obviously have 4 more matches.
Yeah.
And then they need to get through 4 more matches in the quarterfinals, 2 matches in the semi-finals, and then the finals are Double or Nothing on May 20th. So they're both on May 29th. So the women are far ahead in terms of having qualifiers.
Right, but they also started a week early.
Yeah, that's true. But that means that
I don't think it's going to be hard to get around there. So we got 6 qualifying matches left. Between those 6, we could do 2 on Dynamite, 2 on Rampage. It's already 4. You could even do 3 on 3 or something.
My issue is AEW and WWE, but I'm going to focus on AEW for this. They do this thing where you've got all this time before a pay-per-view, and then they start cramming shit in right at the end because they want to keep filling out all these other cards to be like, pay-per-views, let's look at next week's show. There's a Philadelphia street fight with Cheetah and Deeb. There's a ladder match for the TNT title. There's, these could be pay-per-view matches, and you can build more towards that on the pay-per-view instead of just being like, and by the way, hey, next week we're doing another crazy gimmick match. Like, we had a coffin match this week. That could have been on a pay-per-view. I know it's a different philosophy. I'm just saying, when it seems like you're cramming stuff in towards the finish line, I don't understand it.
I think we're firmly in that era of we need a hook for every episode of TV that we can, because the TV is the thing that matters more. And the pay-per-view, well, if the pay-per-view is a 7 out of 10, okay, but we have the one match that people care about. I hate it, but...
And I mean, like, AEW gets around it by the fact that they're great. And they, have great pay-per-views, and I don't think I've ever seen a bad show from them. But, like, the build is starting to show some cracks,
They're still firmly also in that camp of, aren't you going to enjoy the match? We don't need a build. You know what I mean?
I know a lot of people are, like, continuously mad about the women and how there's not a lot of build there. Someone did the breakdown that there was, like 10 minutes total of women's stuff on Dynamite this week. And yeah, I get the frustration, but I'm just hoping these things smooth themselves out as we go.
I think it's just adding to the overall narrative, the fact that you need to make every show a big show. But you can't just rest on your laurels too much. You need to have, like on this show, even though it wasn't the greatest one of all time, or like the most noteworthy, you still had a coffin match as the main event in a big feud between Andrade and Darby Allin, which has been going on for months and months. And yeah, you've had still Punk building up towards the match with Hangman. At least that one's given plenty of time to build up. Like, we know that that's going to be the main event of Double or Nothing, and they started to sow the seeds for that now. And I think it's just a case of AEW is giving us a lot of good matches and good shows consecutively. So that means it feels like they rush towards the pay-per-view, which I'm not saying that they don't by any stretch of the imagination they do that. But that's because they're putting other good stuff on these shows as well, and it means that Double or Nothing is just another good show. And it'll probably be a great show as well because the matches they'll put on, they are saving great matches for that. But it means because they're trying to spread out a load of matches across great matches on every show to make both the TV watchable or like must watch as well as the pay-per-views. It means that some matches that you could have easily saved for the pay-per-view, like Deeb against Shida, which will be in the street fight next week, you probably could have saved that for the pay-per-view if you really wanted to, or build it up. They're going to put it on TV instead. So they're finding this balance of trying to make sure that they don't skimp out on the TV just to make sure that the pay-per-view has tons of must-see matches. And realistically, a pay-per-view, you only need to have 3 matches that are going to attract people's business, and then the rest of it can just be fun matches.
Yeah, but I just hope that we don't get to the position where we're talking in a couple weeks about Double or Nothing, and it's like, okay, they added Austin Gunn against Brody King. I'd be like, come on.
I kind of get the indication that you got, like, both in the sense you don't know how pay-per-view works or has ever worked throughout the entire history of pay-per-view existing. You only sell 1 or 2 matches. Your entire thing is sold on 1 or 2 matches.
No,
Like,
I understand.
every boxing show is built on 1 boxing match.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that I like it.
Well, no, but that means you've never liked
that.
any approach to any pay-per-view that's ever existed.
No, it means that
And
I
I'm
like the
not-
pay-per-views that I feel like they are almost all matches, if not all matches, that feel like they're worthy of a pay-per-view. That's like, I like matches that I like, and I don't like it when I end up feeling like I gotta watch a whole bunch of filler.
And I'm not as off the deep end as he's been lately, where he's just like, yeah, I think they're going to do Austin Gunn and Brody King. I'm just saying, I hope that they, whatever they get to when they get to the pay-per-view, it feels like they've put as much effort as they can into it.
I kind of just take the mindset of, okay, if they've given me 3 or 4 matches that are like really, really at the top end of something that I really, really want to see, then the rest of it, as long as the matches are good, I'm pretty much sold at that point. It's like, yeah, they don't have to be the most blow-away matches of all time, but as long as if you're pretty much on this upcoming show, you've got Punk and Hangman, and you've got, I don't know, maybe FTR versus
Whoever the champions are.
Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus for the tag titles, or whoever the tag champions are, and you've got BCC doing something cool, like having a fun match with, I don't know who would be like a good 3-on-3 situation to be. Maybe have a stadium stampede between the Jericho Appreciation Society and then whoever, Kingston, Santana Ortiz, and then 2 other people they can bring into their side to do that. And then I'm pretty much sold at that point. And then the rest of it is just, okay, if the matches are good, then I'll have a good time.
Now, I will say this. If you're going to do a casino anything, I really hope it's a battle royal and not a ladder. Because I don't want them to overdo the ladder match.
Yeah, this ladder match is enough, really. I think, yeah, do the casino battle royal instead.
I like the poker chip, but at the same time, none of it fucking matters.
Yeah,
because it's not like the poker chip is an actual Money in the Bank thing. They treat it exactly the same way. So do the battle royal.
But we'll see. There's still a good month plus. I'm sure they can get a lot of stuff done in that point in time, especially considering. One other thing that I noted about, and this is obviously nothing new, but like Excalibur must be setting world records with how quickly he runs through these cards.
Yeah,
because it's unbelievable how fast he is.
He does pretty much just go, and next week is going to be this person, and it's going to be that person, and then this match is going to be this, and Owen Hart.
And by the way, on Rampage, over here, we got this. And
when does he have time to breathe?
After.
That's just that was just something that I noted when I was just watching it. Just I've always picked up on it, but this one in particular just felt like he covered about a dozen matches in 30 seconds.
Yeah. That's good, though. Caliber's great. He's probably
he's really
the best person that's in AEW at that point. Yeah. That's the TV stuff for this week. We don't know what's happening on SmackDown tonight quite yet. We don't know.
A contract signing
we don't know
between
what's
Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, we're gonna waste time with that fucking garbage.
Didn't they have a contract signing leading to WrestleMania as well?
Yes.
Yeah, but they fucking love their contract signings. I don't understand why they love
They're doing
these
a
things so much.
lumberjack match, a contract signing,
Moss
and Uso
against
versus
the
Riddle,
Angel.
and Moss against Angel.
Yeah, 'cause you've got to save that match between Corbin and Moss for WrestleMania Backlash, because that makes it feel more special.
Yeah. Oof. Talking about adding things that don't need to be on a card. See, I
Yeah.
think that the whole thing with me, and this is, what we talked about here and there, I don't have that luxury of not watching as many things.
Mm.
So I feel like I'm wasting so
No,
much
I-
time
no,
as it is. And
I
then
understand it.
when I feel
Like-
like, oh my God, not even a good show is doing this and it's wasting my time. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand that philosophy. Like, in an ideal world, I would love that every single match on every single card is something like special and must see, must watch. But once you start to fall back a little bit from that kind of thing, you kind of find that, yeah, it's never actually going to be like that. So you kind of just got to not settle, but like appreciate the stuff you do appreciate and let the other stuff kind of just wash over you a little bit.
Like, fundamentally, if you don't feel burned out like I do, if you look at something like, all right, Riddle is going to go up against Jey Uso, that could be fun, but I don't fucking care. And
It's a bit different with WWE, like you see,
RK Bro,
because you've like seen it like a million times before, so kind of that's the difference, really.
And like on paper, Sami Zayn against Drew McIntyre in a lumberjack match, pretty cool. But I'm probably gonna pay like little to no attention to it. I'll probably be making dinner instead. I don't care. I like Angel. I like Madcap Moss. I don't care enough to see that thing. I'm very much hoping that I can skip the Flair and Rousey contract signing because their promos have been just absolute trash. Every time that they give a microphone to either one of them lately, I've been hating it.
Actually, there is one thing about this SmackDown show that will intrigue me. Are we actually going to see Roman Reigns?
Well, we didn't this week.
Yeah, we haven't seen him all last week. He wasn't on Raw SmackDown last week.
They're going back to even that old school philosophy where they got the big people just sort of doing house shows. Becky's doing house shows. She's not on TV. Roman's been doing house shows. He's not been on TV.
They're really trying hard not to pigeonhole themselves in something, and they're just going, wait until next week. Please wait until next week. Please wait until the week after that.
We talk about this build towards Double Nothing. Like WrestleMania Backlash is, it's May 18th, I think. Well, not May 18th, probably. It's like middle of May.
I think that's the 8th thing that I keep thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, May 8th.
Yeah, May 8th.
Okay, so it's May 8th. So there's like literally how many episodes of SmackDown? So it's this current episode of SmackDown, and then
2 more.
2 more episodes of SmackDown,
which I think
and
that
there's
they're
2 more
pre-taping,
episodes,
right?
and 2 more episodes of Raw, and we have no idea who's challenging Roman for the title.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they're gonna tape. They're gonna double tape tonight.
Right, but I mean, they're making this card look like shit because it's it's a rematch. Hey, it's a rematch. Hey, it's a rematch. Oh, and a tag team title unification. You know,
but we get that Corbin and Moss match. That's fresh.
I'm assuming that that's gonna happen.
But yeah, I'm just setting the scene.
And they had announced
a more disappointing pay-per-view predictions one that we have coming up.
They had announced Bianca and Sonya for the card on the bump, and then because the bump, they said, "Fuck that. We'll just do it next week on Monday Night Raw."
But that again, that's just the indication that something's going to happen in that match, which means we are going to see Sonya and Bianca Belair.
I just assume that Becky's going to come back and work the pay-per-view.
Might as well just take out the word Backlash at this point, because it's just WrestleMania again, isn't it? At this point.
Well, no, we can't do that because then it wouldn't be a stupendous show.
Well, I'm surprised that they didn't trademark WrestleMania rematch. Just call it
that.
That'd
be awful. That'd be awful.
I'm still putting it out there that I think that SummerSlam is going to be called, the thing after that's going to be SummerSlam Payback. I don't know. It's weird gut feeling that I have. But we'll come around to all these things when it comes time for them. That's the hot tags of this episode. Whatever happens on SmackDown tonight with the next set of the tapings, we will have that up on smarkmoment.com here and there. If anything super crazy ends up happening, maybe we'll do an Rcast or something. I highly doubt that that's going to be the case, though. I'm expecting it to be they recorded a bunch of, okay, well, Ronda Rousey might have a tag team match. And, Naomi and Sasha Banks beat two people on fucking SmackDown. Who cares? Aaliyah and someone or whatever. But if anything does happen, you will see it up on smarkmomo.com, and we will address it next week. And of course, the game plan for next week is still blank. We don't really know what we're going to do. So you made event suggestions, drop them in the comments below, and we will take them into consideration, try to figure out what we got going on. We kind of impromptu did the one for this week. We didn't really have that set up until pretty much right before that. But maybe something happens over the course of this next episode of SmackDown or these next tapings that we want to kind of circle back around, or maybe we got something else in mind. Maybe you want us to do something we haven't done in a while, like a Miss the Smark. We only did 1 or 2 of those, I think. We haven't done a Wrestling is 2020 in a little bit. We haven't done a tier list in a little bit. We haven't done Play the Game in a while. I don't know, but whatever you like, let us know. We'll keep that kind of rolling along. And if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment, you check out smarkoutmoment.com, and you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, then you'll see the things popping up when they do pop up. Do the same thing over to fanboysanonymous.com and that channel and those social media accounts, and follow me over there at Tony Mango all over the place, and follow what these guys have going on as well. Rob?
Yeah, follow me at Dude Felice. Check out Fightful, Fightful.com, Fightful Select for more news like the Darius Martin breaking news. Just follow me everywhere, and follow Callum, because Callum's got cool stuff going on too.
Yep, follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out all of the stuff on the smarkmoment.com website that pay special attention to the power rankings, my week-to-week contribution. I also contributed to the Triple Threat this week along with Tony. So you can both check out our thoughts on WWE's obsession with unification right now, and what that...
and both of you hate that too, so that's interesting.
And Tony loves merging.
Well, not when it comes to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can check out those thoughts as well. And yeah, that's it from me.
There's actually a good chance that our main event for next week is going to be the picks for the Fantasy League. Now that I'm thinking about it. Because we're going to start that at WrestleMania Backlash, right?
So we could do something interesting, which is what we've been discussing behind the scenes. I might as well talk about it now, because whether we do it or not, it's no harm in you guys finding out what our discussion is. I wanted to mix things up a little bit, which I tend to do with these Fantasy League drafts, because the biggest annoyance for me, as the guy running the Fantasy League last time, was getting these two to make their picks.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, every week you're like, remember to make the picks, and it'd be like, all right, it's 7:58. I'm like, fuck, all right, do that real quick.
Because we had rosters assigned, and we had like people that pick every single week and stuff along those lines. So let's change things up a little bit and essentially take the midweek picks out of the equation. And so I was thinking that this would be, even though we've had a draft recently, it would be a kind of mix of a Fantasy League team picking and kind of WWE draft, a current WWE roster draft mix. So yeah, that's kind of the approach that we're taking right now, but we'll talk more about it once we actually, if we do decide to proceed ahead with it next week. But we definitely have to do it prior to Backlash, as that'll be the first show where all these points start accumulating from.
Since the week of Backlash, we'll be doing the predictions. I think more than likely we'll probably do the Fantasy League thing next week. And I'm kind of digging that idea, if not just to see how things play out and be like, oh man, I shouldn't have picked Damon Kemp or someone like that.
Yeah, because the whole idea being that we like doing drafts. Everyone, it seems to be some of our favorite content as well, and we get to add the competitive aspect as well. And once this one is out of the way, means that pretty much the rosters just stay as they are, and if things change, then yeah, it'll just be a case of these will be our rosters for the whole year. No further picks, no changes. The only thing that would change is if certain wrestlers are no longer part of the company, but we'll get to that if and when it happens.
Well, and will we still do the predictions for the pay-per-views?
Yeah, we'd still do that, but I had to figure out. I had to figure out what that would mean. But I think that we should still do it in some respects. But maybe it'd be a case of, if you win the pay-per-view predictions, you can freeze out a particular wrestler or something along those lines. Like, this wrestler isn't actually gaining any points for the month ahead, or something along those lines. I'll have to figure it out. I'll come up with something on the fly. But But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we proceed with that next week.
Yeah, more than likely that's probably going to be the thing. I'll actually gonna write that down as the main target thing. Fantasy league picks. But then again, I don't know. Maybe we get around to doing another thing on top of that, and you guys will find out when we figure it out. When we let you know. But in the meantime, check out the stuff we've already done, and stay tuned for the things that are coming up next. So thank you for listening to this episode, everybody. We hope you appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy SmackDown tonight and your weekend and everything. It's not a holiday weekend, right? I don't think so. No, it already happened.
That was last week. Easter's last week.
Yeah, it's still 2020 in my brain. So adios for now, there, everybody. We will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.